Is Canada ready to reopen this summer? Are you ready to reopen this country? And I ask that question, not a hypothetical question, a very serious question, on multiple fronts, based on the numbers, based on the current situation, logistically, and perhaps most, I think, curiously, as a lot of people are finding right now, psychologically. Are we ready to reopen on that front as well? When it comes to the numbers, I think absolutely, yes, we are 100% from coast to coast. We have seen in the United States jurisdictions, it doesn't matter whether it's the Republican governor of Florida or the very left-wing mayor, Lori Lightfoot of Chicago, they all want reopenings, different types of reopenings at different times, but well, the mayor of Chicago back in January, she was calling for indoor dining to be reopened. You've seen leadership from Republicans, Democrats all across the country. I've heard from people living in the US who basically say, people don't even really talk about coronavirus anymore. They're back to living their lives. And here in Canada, a very similar situation. Are the case numbers slightly different here and there? Vaccination rates slightly different? Sure, of course. But by and large, I think it's a frame of mind question. The Americans, they are just looking for reasons to reopen, whereas here in Canada, people are looking for whatever reason they can find to remain closed. At least some people are, and some of those people are the decision makers, the public health officials, the politicians, and some of those medical voices, epidemiologists that you see on television here on the airwaves. Okay, logistically, are we ready to reopen? It'll be really interesting to see just how some businesses, some operations are gonna maybe have trouble finding their footing. We've heard about various issues with people going back to work, different businesses that have found their supply chains disrupted and so on. What will that all mean for these different businesses as they get back to regular operations, customers come back and try and support them more fulsomely? I think the question psychologically is a very interesting one, because there are a lot of people who have been very afraid to do things that not even our public health officials said were unsafe to do. Dr. Theresa Tam, she always said, yeah, wear your mask, do your hand cleaning, your sanitization, and so forth, but they never tried to stoke fears about, say, going to the grocery store. I mean, the basic fact that the federal contact tracing app would only register a contact between someone if you were within 6 feet of them for 15 minutes or more tells you that Dr. Tam, she never said that you stand a good chance of getting coronavirus in the grocery store. So if that app showed that you had actually stood beside someone in the grocery store who later tested positive, if you had only been beside them for 3 minutes, which when you think about it, 3 minutes in itself is a really long time to stand beside someone at the grocery store, well, the app would not tell you that you had been near that person because they would not think that it was a sufficient amount of time. And yet we had people who were very nervous. I heard from them, you saw them quoted in the media, perhaps you know some people like this, very afraid going into the grocery store, even though the chances, what are the chances? Pretty small. Questions around school. We have had public officials, reports, stuff from all over the world saying, look, in-class transmission between small children, it's just not really happening in Canada. In Ontario, they say even outdoors, the kids need to wear masks. In British Columbia, they kept the schools open much more than Ontario did. The kids, the small kids at least, didn't even wear masks indoors. So a lot of it, again, is frame of mind and what we bring to all of this, our personal response. And are there going to be people who will be still clinging to this even after reopenings? I mean, doing something for a year and a half, it's very habit forming. The idea that you walk into a location and you go, uh-oh, this is not safe. I have told myself that, the media has told me that, public health officials, and of course you adjust your expectations, you adjust your behavior, you tug on that mask to make sure it's on securely and so forth. I mean, does one suddenly get vaccinated and just bam, you completely change your attitude? Or does the government say, okay, this can be reopened now and again? You completely change your approach to all of that. I don't know, some people, yes, I think they're going to do that. There are many people who have said, well, I don't think these places should be closed in the first place, so they've never been particularly concerned, but there is going to be a segment of people who are going to have trouble returning to just regular behavior in various stores and fitness centers and locations. What's it going to be like? Are we ready to reopen Canada? I think we should be. The numbers all show yes. We look what's happening in the United States. They're getting back to life. They're getting back to business, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few months in Canada, because I think for a whole lot of people, for a whole lot of various different reasons, it may not be that easy.